Well, hello, Congressman. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could please introduce your guest to us.
Yeah, sure. I'm Chip Roy from the 21st District, and I've got Lieutenant Chris Olivarez here with me. He's with Texas DPS, and he is central to the entire operation we've got with Operation Lone Star that Governor Abbott and our DPS folks were putting in place when we needed border help. And Texas stood in the breach when the federal government, frankly, abandoned us. And so these guys were getting it done. And Lord willing, now we've got all this help from President Trump and ICE and Border Patrol and Tom Homan and what they're doing. And I can tell you there's a lot of relief with these guys as well as with Border Patrol and ICE guys on the ground.
And what does it mean to you to be here for President Trump's first address since being back in office?
Well, I mean, it's a great honor, especially when the congressman, actually called me to invite me. It was kind of shocked, and it's a very surreal moment to be here to represent not only my agency and DPS, but also the entire state of Texas, to actually be a representation of that. And of course, as the congressman mentioned, we were at the forefront for the last 4 years with border operations because of the surge that we're seeing on the border, criminal activity, the large groups of illegal immigrants that were coming across. And because of the governor's action, we were able to implement a border strategy. And now we have some relief at the federal level. We have an ally now at the federal level. So it's very beneficial to us as a state. And again, it's just a great moment to be here, to be able to see the president's address, and also to be here with the congressman. It's a great honor to represent Texas.
And a question for both of you. Obviously, Republicans ran on a number of issues and won successfully in 2024. One of them was immigration. You just talked about how you personally were impacted by the border crossings, and now we've seen historic lows of crossings at the border. What does it mean to you as a constituent that President Trump has done what he said he was going to do with only 6 weeks of being in office?
Well, I think it goes back to what was taking place the last 4 years. We know for a fact that this situation could have been stopped from day one. And we saw that now with the new administration, with new leadership. On day one, they were able to cut down illegal border crossings, and now they're at an historic low. Right now, we're averaging anywhere from 200 to 300 illegal border crossings across the entire southwest border, which is unheard of. But of course, there's more work to be done. There's been a lot of damage over the last 4 years, and now our focus as a state is to focus more on those criminal threats, human smuggling, drug trafficking. That's what we want to focus on, and also provide support to our federal partners, Border Patrol, ICE agents. So it really goes back to what could have been done on day one. The fact of the matter is that we were able to provide resources and support at the state level, and now we can actually have some relief on that. Now, of course, with help from Congress and everyone else involved, we know that we have decisive action from the current administration that's actually going to take action on the border.
Yeah, look, what we've seen out of the president is what he said he would do, and he's actually carrying out the actions that President Biden could have done, which Secretary Mayorkas refused to do. Look, Secretary Mayorkas lied to me under oath, okay, about what he could do and what he couldn't do and how he was applying the law with respect to parole, with respect to asylum. They were abusing the laws to release people to the United States. This president has ended it almost immediately. We've now got, 6,000-ish apprehensions in a month? They were averaging 6,000 a day. And so what we've got is a sea change, but Congress now has to act to help make it permanent. Congress now has to act to provide greater resources for ICE, to make sure they've got the beds, to make sure that they've got the resources they need to partner with local law enforcement, empower and encourage local law enforcement. And by the way, Texas also needs to get paid back. Texas spent about $11 to $12 billion of our own money. These guys, DPS, they're supposed to be able to be all over the state, patrolling our highways, making sure that we're stopping crime up in North Texas, Central Texas, Houston, and they were having to be at the border doing the job of the federal government. So we got a lot more we need to do, and we got to make laws permanent. We got to get H.R. 2 from last Congress, get it done now, and so it's just the beginning, but it's a good step by the president.
And you were instrumental and quite vocal during the budget reconciliation process. That was the hot topic on Capitol Hill. It probably still will be for quite some months. Now that you've seen the House pass its budget resolution, the Senate has passed theirs, what are you hoping to see that when you start to put those things together that doesn't get left out from what House Republicans and you in particular really advocated for and want to see?
Yeah, well, House Republicans led. We passed a bill that will help secure the border, that will help make sure our military is modernized and updated, but importantly will reduce spending while also making the tax cuts permanent or extended. That is going to be really strong for our economic growth, and that's a good overall plan. It's responsible, but here's the thing. It's got to be a floor on the spending, not a ceiling. We put the spending cuts that we put in place upwards of around $2 trillion. We need to make sure that the Senate works with the House. We've got to deliver on those. The American people expect us to carry out a fiscally responsible budget. The American people are tired of the inflation tax that's destroying the average American family, driving up the price of homes, driving up interest rates, making their mortgage more expensive, making cars more expensive, making food more expensive, making their schools more expensive. Everything is going up because of the inflation tax. We've got to reduce the spending. The president gets that. What Elon's doing with Doge is great, but we got to implement it as Congress. So the answer on the budget is, we just started the process. We need to go even further.
And Doge has also been another topic on Capitol Hill. There's been a lot of people on both sides of the aisle saying that these cuts go too far. Some of them don't go far enough. Where do you fall on that spectrum, and what role do you think that Congress should have in implementing those cuts?
Sure, well, let's give a little perspective, right? What we put forward in our budget, right, has maybe $150 to $200 billion a year in cuts on a $7 trillion budget. That $7 trillion total budget is up from $4.5 trillion pre-COVID in 2019. We're just nibbling around the edges. When Doge gets in and they highlight all this waste, there's going to be a little bit of sort of people having to come to Jesus now and actually deliver and say, look, we've been running on reducing spending, now let's actually follow through and get it done. When they go find a $32,000 transgender comic book going to Peru, right? The American people go, why is my money doing that? So we've got to go through, clean that stuff out, and deliver. But it can't just be smoke and mirrors. We got to deliver, and we got to take some tough votes. Republicans go out and campaign on balancing the budget. We got to actually deliver.
And then as a guest tonight, you're going to be hearing from President Trump talk on an array of issues. What do you in particular want to hear from him? And what would make you feel comfortable knowing that he's going to then continue for the next 3 years and what you want to see at the end of his term?
Of course, border security is going to be priority for us in Texas. As the Congressman mentioned, $11 billion that our Texas taxpayers had to foot the bill because of the inaction from the previous administration. So I want to see more permanent solutions, as the Congressman alluded to. We need to have permanent solutions on the border, more border security, focusing more on the cartels as well, transnational crime that's taking place along the border. That's what we really need to key on, and also have permanent solutions so we don't have another surge of mass illegal immigration that we saw for the past 4 years.
And then anything else that you wanted to hear from the president tonight when he's speaking to everybody?
Look, I think the president is going to be talking about renewing the American dream, and that's what this is all about. If you want to achieve the American dream in this country, you got to be able to afford it. You got to get rid of the inflation tax, but you also got to be secure. You're not free if you're not secure. And for too long, we've had open borders. We've had unfortunate loss of life. Jocelyn Nungare lost her life as a 13-year-old beautiful little girl last July. Her mom, Alexis, is wonderful. She chose life when she was pregnant with her when she was 14 years old. And she lost her daughter last summer. And what did she do? She didn't quit. She got out on the campaign trail, and she's been a voice for common sense, for security, and for freedom. She was my guest at the inauguration, like Chris is here. I think we need to stand with the people who've been standing with us to secure our state of Texas. And so I want to hear more about that from the president, about how the American dream can be preserved if we secure our country and if we restore prosperity by getting the government out of the way.